Hi, Larissa here, and in this video, I'm going to be talking to you about 3 common causes of fatigue that you've likely never heard of and are actually quite common. So recently, I actually did a hair tissue mineral analysis test and found out that I'm actually likely dealing with all 3 of these. And so if you've been struggling with low energy or fatigue and you've worked on improving your sleep, your diet, hydration, exercise, stress reduction, and maybe you saw some improvement, but you still know that either your energy isn't what it can be, or you're just really still struggling with fatigue, you really need to see if you have 1, if not 2, or all 3 of these common root causes of fatigue, and they also affect a lot of other things in the body besides just fatigue. And I'll be sharing with you the 1 test that you can do to find out if you have these root causes of fatigue, and of course how you can address them. So let's jump right in. So the first one is mineral imbalances. And while doctors will talk about certain minerals that you may need to take more of, such as magnesium, I mean, it actually isn't talked about enough, but I think it's becoming more well known that most people are deficient in magnesium, and magnesium is actually needed for 6 out of the 8 pathways in the Krebs cycle, which is what happens in your mitochondria to produce ATP. So our mitochondria are like little powerhouses in our cell that produce ATP, which is basically the gas or the fuel that runs our body. It's our energy source. And I don't need to go into a biology lesson, but all you need to know is that minerals play key roles in the production of ATP. So you can't have energy or properly functioning mitochondria without the right minerals and the right balance. And all cells in our body need minerals for other processes as well. So they're really important. And when you have an imbalance in one mineral, it can create a cascade in the body affecting other minerals, because there can be synergistic relationships where one mineral can increase the absorption of another, or can be antagonistic where it can actually reduce the absorption of another mineral. Unfortunately, blood testing is not an accurate way to assess your mineral levels in your body. And the most inexpensive and accurate way is hair tissue mineral analysis, which it's not something that you can just look at and, see your value and basically say, oh, my magnesium is low, I need more. Oh, my potassium is low, I need more. Sometimes it will be straightforward, but it's something you really need to work with a practitioner on. So I actually completed a practitioner training on the use of hair tissue mineral analysis, which is why I'm making this video, because after everything I learned, I personally am so excited to work on balancing my minerals, and I really want to help others to use this test, and I'm going to start using it with my clients as well, because it's just so powerful in terms of not just addressing fatigue, but with women especially, hormonal balance, that really at the core of balancing your hormones is balancing your minerals. So I mentioned magnesium is a big one, and so it's really good to actually know what your magnesium level is, and if it's actually being, essentially absorbed and taken into the cell, because again, if there's certain imbalances, you could actually get buildup of certain minerals in the body, but they might be bio-unavailable. Like, for example, iron. I learned this last year that I'm iron deficient, and a lot of people, again, especially women, have iron deficiency anemia, and yet they're eating a lot of red meat. And so the question is, why isn't the body absorbing and utilizing the iron at a cellular level? And so there's a lot of factors that come into play, which you can also learn about when you do the HTMA test. HTMA is the hair tissue mineral analysis. And also vitamin D, if you have low vitamin D, the answer I've learned is actually not to just take vitamin D supplement. Of course, you want to always get sunlight. That's the best source of vitamin D, but also you need magnesium and boron. And there's just a lot of other relationships like this. For example, another one, a lot of people started supplementing with zinc because of coronavirus. But if you have too much zinc and not enough copper, that also creates an imbalance. We really need to have good balance. So it's not good to just randomly be taking minerals in supplement form if you don't actually know what the level is in your body. I mean, if it's just short term, for example, just for a couple of weeks, that's fine. You know, if you got COVID and you started taking zinc, okay. But if you're taking these things long term, again, food is the best source if you want to like increase your zinc, you know, eat more zinc rich foods, because you're also going to be getting copper. But unfortunately, because our soil is so depleted of mineral these days, and it doesn't matter if you're eating organic, it can still be deficient in minerals, we often really do need to supplement, and we need to test, not guess, to know what our body actually needs and what's going on. And another really common mineral imbalance that really is not well known, I just learned about it and I've been studying, you know, nutrition for a while, and most functional medicine doctors don't know about it, is what's termed copper toxicity, which can actually be a form of copper deficiency, because you can have a copper buildup in the body, but that copper is bio-unavailable. And again, especially in women, this is common because of hormonal birth control. The estrogen from the birth control can lead to retaining more copper, or having a copper IUD, which, you know, is usually thought to be better because it's not hormonal. But even though you have likely been told that it's not a problem, if you have certain mineral imbalances, that copper can be retained and not properly eliminated through the body, and again, build up and not be available for use. So you can have a buildup of copper, which is why it's called copper toxicity, and yet have copper deficiency because it's not able to be utilized and taken up by the cells. So this is just a few examples of some of the different interactions and issues that can go on with mineral imbalances. And so this is what the test looks like. This video, I'm not going to go into detail. I'll make another video to talk more about what else the test can show you, but it basically shows you all your mineral levels. And the second thing it shows you is toxic elements, heavy metals. So this is the second common cause of fatigue that's often not talked about. It's heavy metal toxicity. And these days in our environment, no one is safe from heavy metals. We're all being exposed. I mean, mercury, we're getting a lot from seafood. I mean, that's why I stopped eating tuna, although I've eaten a lot. But other common ones, arsenic. On my test, arsenic was showing up because I've been eating a lot of rice, having lived in Iraq for 5 years. Previously, I lived in Japan for a few years, and I live in Turkey. So arsenic is often found in rice, and that's why actually white rice is better than brown rice, has less arsenic. But other ones could be uranium and other common ones. Lead, aluminum is a big one. And so we're all exposed, but it's good to actually know which ones you have, because there's different methods of heavy metal detox depending on which heavy metals you have. But if you want just to address general heavy metal detox in a gentle way, because I don't recommend you go out and don't Google heavy metal detox and start some aggressive heavy metal detox protocol. There's things that you need to do to prepare your body, one of them being balancing your macro minerals, but other things to make sure you've opened up your passive elimination, and you really have to do it with a trained practitioner and use the right protocol. But there's a few things that you can do on a daily basis to safely help bind and remove heavy metals. And one of them, if you have access, is a sauna. So I love doing infrared sauna because sweating is a really great way to eliminate heavy metals. And you can also get a supplement called Pectosol C, and that's a way to bind. You want the one by Eco-Nugenics. I'll link that below so you can see. And there's a lot of other protocols for heavy metal detox, but again, you need to start with balancing your macro minerals and then move on to heavy metal detox. And the reason that heavy metals can lead to fatigue is because a lot of them actually poison your mitochondria. And remember, mitochondria are the little powerhouses in our cell that produce the ATP, the energy source for our body. And heavy metals also they have so many other damaging effects in the body. And another thing that they do is, because they kind of resemble a lot of minerals and yet they're heavier, they can actually come in the body and displace minerals from the receptor sites on cells and enzymes. And then we can lead to a deficiency in minerals, and we end up retaining those toxic metals. And the other thing is, if we have a deficiency already in minerals, there's actually certain heavy metals that can be used in place. So for example, if we have a deficiency in calcium, our body is actually able to utilize lead instead to build bone. It would be pretty brittle and not very good bone, but our body really tries to compensate. So in order to get rid of the lead, we would first need to address that calcium deficiency. So again, you can see there's just so many interactions that are going on, and heavy metals and minerals, they all interact and affect one another. And the third cause of fatigue that you likely haven't heard of is iodine deficiency. And so this is something that's kind of controversial, and you have to be really, really careful. So I want to emphasize right now that I don't want you to go out and purchase an iodine supplement and just start taking it on your own, because it's really important that you, first of all, you're sure that you are actually iodine deficient, and then you need to do a proper protocol, working with a practitioner so that you're using the right dosage and taking the right cofactors. And again, there has to be mineral balancing at the same time. When you're deficient in iodine, this affects a lot of things in the body because there's receptors for iodine in all our cells. But one thing in particular that's quite common is hypothyroidism, so low thyroid function. So when we don't have enough iodine, as well as certain other minerals, like if we don't have enough zinc, iron, selenium, then we might not have enough of the active T3 form of thyroid hormone. And when we don't have enough thyroid function, when we have slow thyroid function, we have slow metabolism, we feel more sluggish and fatigued. And again, it has many other effects on the body. And the reason that a lot of people are iodine deficient these days is because we're no longer consuming iodized salt, which is a good thing because iodized salt is usually just the table salt that's pure sodium. We want to consume sea salt that's rich in a lot of minerals, but most sea salt that we're consuming isn't iodized. And unless you're living in Japan or Asian country or just consuming a lot of sea vegetables, like kelp is a good source of iodine, then you're not really getting enough. Now, the solution isn't necessarily to just start consuming iodized salt, because you can get iodized sea salt. But again, you really want to understand what's your current iodine status, and you need to also rule out something else. Another thing that you need to address besides just iodine in the diet is whether or not you're being exposed to halide chemicals. So this could be from fluoride, chlorine, or chloramine in your water, because if you're not properly filtering your tap water, then you could be consuming a lot of these. And you could also consume it through your shower water. You could either be breathing it in because they vaporize if you take hot showers, or just absorbed through the skin. Or definitely if you're bathing, then you would be absorbing even more through the skin if you don't have a filter. And another common halide that we're exposed to a lot is bromine. And bromine can come from new mattresses. Of course, if they're not organic, nowadays there are good options that don't have bromine. But generally, new mattresses, new furniture, new cars, these all can be off-gassing bromine. And that's another way we can breathe it in. And so what happens is if we're consuming and taking in these halide chemicals, they can also displace iodine from the receptor on the cells. So if you do have iodine deficiency, then addressing this with a proper iodine protocol can be a really effective way to fix your fatigue. But of course, you want to rule out all three of these things. You want to address mineral imbalances, heavy metals, and iodine deficiency, and of course, optimizing your thyroid function if you have hypothyroidism. So let's review. The three common causes of fatigue are mineral imbalances, including copper toxicity being one of the big ones that especially a lot of women have and don't know. And the second one is heavy metal toxicity. And the third one is iodine deficiency and hypothyroidism. So if you're someone who's struggling with fatigue, or you just want to optimize your energy, that you just know it's not as good as it could be, because that's how I felt. I didn't feel super fatigued, but I was struggling for a while. Like when I started going to the gym and I tried to start running again, I was always previously a runner, and it was just feeling hard, and when I started lifting weights again, I just wasn't really making gains. My muscles felt more tired. And then I learned that I had iron deficiency. And when I started addressing that, then suddenly I was just so full of energy when I was going for runs. And I noticed a big difference also in my mental energy, my focus and concentration. And I still haven't even corrected my iron deficiency. I've increased it, but I already noticed some difference. Because with iron deficiency, again, it's not as simple as just consuming more red meat, but you really have to look at like why your body isn't properly absorbing the iron. So that's just to say that often you might not even feel like you have fatigue, or you just get used to a new normal and you don't know how much energy you could actually have. You don't actually maybe know what it feels like. So I highly encourage you to do a hair tissue mineral analysis test to find out if you have 1, 2, or all 3 of these root causes, because it's not just going to affect your mitochondria and your energy production in the body, but it can affect so many other aspects of your health. And it really isn't that difficult. It can sometimes take time, but it's not difficult to address a lot of these imbalances. And if you're interested in learning more and you want to work with me to work on mineral balancing and addressing heavy metals or hypothyroidism, iodine deficiency, anything that I talked about, then you can click the link in the bio to learn more, schedule a free call with me to find out more about how we can work together and if it'd be a good fit. This test is available that you could find online to order directly, but you do need to work with a practitioner because it's not the type of test that you can just read on your own and know what it means. You have to have someone who's actually trained, and I'm not just saying that so that you pay to work with me, but it's the truth. This is why I signed up for a practitioner training, because I wanted to just be able to read my own results and then be able to help my clients as well. And with everything I've learned, you absolutely cannot interpret these results on your own, or you would be taking the wrong supplements and possibly making things worse. So I have a special package for HTMA analysis and putting together a protocol and providing support both through coaching or through email support, depending what you're interested in, how much support you need. And again, you can click the link below to learn more. And if you want to just directly hop on a call with me, I do offer a free discovery call so you can learn if this is something that would be helpful for you. Because again, it's not just if you have fatigue, but if you have other issues, especially like hormonal imbalances, even digestive issues, this can be a really helpful starting point. So I hope you found it helpful, and thank you for listening. Bye.